which is the Devil Wawa, is a famous legend in Ecuador, especially in La Tacunga, and is a character that seeks the draw to attention of any peasant who is walking through the woods.
And now the collage.
Legend of Chusalongo. The Chusalongo legend is developed in the coast area of Ecuador.
From a long distance, he managed to see a tiny creature that was moving away towards the horizon.
We're going to talk about the legend Laguna de las Ninfas, which is a Galapagos Island legend. Okay, at one end of the Bahía de las Ninfas in Santa Cruz, there's a beautiful lake with green and crystalline waters, where there are always banks of lisas, which are a type of fish that attract fishermen. You get there through a natural stone tunnel, cactus, and mangroves. A legend says that many years ago in this place, at sunset, three beautiful women played and sang. With this, they distract the fishermen of the town to take them to the bottom of the sea.
Others also say that the women who played and sang were daughters of one of the first Norwegian or German colonists, but that the mother killed them because they had fallen in love with their own fathers. They also say that these women had several parents who sent them to the country of their origin, for that they would not mix with the native people because on one of pregnant by a native. When a fisherman is lost, they always say that it is work of nymph.
A few centuries ago, of young priest of San Diego convent was called Padre Almeida.
The legend is the house 1028.
Then the bull ran away from the home and disappeared. It was very entertaining because the legend is a legend that I enjoy too much, and I know the legend for a long time.
The myth about Cotopaxi, Puyo, and Rit-I. This is the story of the motive or the reason why the Cotopaxi has snow in the top of the volcano. And the myth goes like, a long time ago, the climate goddess named Puyo was visiting his loved one, the Cotopaxi volcano. They were a beautiful couple which loved each other a lot. After a long day of visiting her loved one, Puyu left, but when she was leaving, she accidentally dropped a piece of cloud that landed over Cotopaxi. This little cloud piece turned into a living being, a child, that had the power of snow that was inherited by his mother Puyu. Cotopaxi noticed this child a while after Puyu was gone, so he could not tell her that this powerful being was there. So he raised the kid and adopted it.
Okay, this is my instinct that I do of the volcano Cotopaxi.
In the first photo is the Cotopaxi after the crown. Below is the sky or the goddess of the weather.
The legend, the treasure of Atahualpa.
This legend is about a girl named Mariangula who used to help her mother by selling tripamishki in a garden of the colonial city of Quito. One day, her mom sent her to buy goods at the market, but she disobeyed her. She had gone to play with her friends and had spent all the money her mom had given her to buy the goods. When she returned home, she was scared thinking about the punishment that her mother would give her. But at that moment, she was passing right in front of a graveyard, and she came out with a way to escape of her punishment. Maria snuck inside the graveyard and she stole the guts of a recently deceased, and then she delivered it to her mom, so she will cook the dish. Surprisingly, the dish was an all success. It liked out all the people, and Maria get rid of her punishment.
But when the night arrived, the spirit of the deceased went to where was Marangula to take revenge, and it was exclaiming, Marangula, give me back my guts and my poison that you stole from my holy grave. The girl woke up in the middle of the night, paralyzed by pitiful howls that no one else could hear. Mariangula, give me back my guts and my poison that you stole from my holy grave. Then she lis- then she listened the footsteps of the spirit getting closer to her room. Terrified for the storm that this could inflict, she tried to get it free for it. So she took a knife that was in a drawer and cut her stomach. When the spirit got into Marangula's room, it meets the girl dying with her guts scattered on the bed.
We can know if the history of Mariangula was true or it is just about a legend, but the thing that we can get is a valuable lesson of it, and it is that we never have to desecrate the rest of the deaths.
I really like this legend because I never heard of it, and I really like doing this job with Rosita and Emily.
On the border between the province of Tungurahua and Cotopaxi near Salcedo is the Jambo Lagoon, which has greenish water, which doesn't allow us to look more than 1 meter deep. It is also believed that the lagoon is enchanted, and a train sank there and never showed any trace of it or of the passenger aid. The inhabitants of the sector said that old train, so old and rustic that it seemed to be dark in color, ran along the railroad track that ran dangerously along the rocks above the lagoon. People call it the Black Train. One Good Friday, while making the afternoon journey from Quito to Riobamba, the locomotive had to stop halfway through the journey.
It had rained in the province of Cotopaxi, and a big collapse covered the track. The railroad workers worked all day to clear it, and only when it got dark cloud, the passengers settled into the cars and restarted the journey. The black train whizzed by Salcedo before 11 o'clock at night, but when it reached the Jambo sector, where the downpours had reached a great deal of mud onto the rails, the derailment occurred with a thunderous roar. The passengers, who sleep fatigue, woke up, feeling that the machine was rushing into the void.
Some of them even implored God for the salvation of their souls. Others asked forgiveness for offending Christ by traveling on a holy day. The train left here its loud whistle in the middle of the night. Like an agonizing monster, it fell in the sank in the waters of the bottomless pond. Since no trace was ever found, it is believed that all the occupants disappeared, and they become part of the legend. Every Good Friday at midnight, if one passes by the road to Ambato, he will hear the frightful whistle of the black train, accompanied by the cries of damned souls that grieve at the bottom of the waters.
Okay, good morning, everybody. We are José Jaramillo and Samuel Diaz, and we're going to talk you about the legend Quartam the Toad. First of all, a very short introduction to this legend. Quartam the Toad is a well-known legend of the Amazonian region in Ecuador. However, it isn't very popular in the rest of the country due to the lack of communication and interaction between the people of the Amazonian region and the non-writing culture they have. It is a very interesting tale, and as most of legends here, it has a hidden lesson for our lives. And the lesson is to not disrespect the nature, because even though nature can be kind with us and it provides the things we need for living, it is still dangerous and powerful, and we have to show the respect it deserves, or nature can punish you. The legend is also used to teach the children to respect the nature and be more obedient. And here's the message: show the respect nature deserves, otherwise you will be hurt. Now, my partner Josue is going to tell you a very short and summarized version of the legend.
Okay. This legend belongs to the short culture and talks about a large variety of sorts of or frogs, which live in the trees of tropical forests. If it is provoked or mocked, it transforms itself into a tiger and eats the rest. The story tells that a shark hunter went out to his work in the forest, and despite the warnings his wife had given him, upon hearing the peculiar sound of his throat, something like spartan, he did not hesitate to intimidate it in a repeated and mocking way. Suddenly, and without giving time to anything, the young hunter was attacked from the very tree where the frogman came from by a proud tiger, which destroyed it and ate a part of it.
That was our legend. Thanks for your attention, and we hope you enjoyed it.
We're going to talk about from the legend of Cantuña. In the historic center of Quito, you will notice many stores and restaurants named for Cantuña, a man famous in Quiteño story. But his story is complex, with stories and layers changing depending on the person telling the tale. Cantuña was a famous mestizo, a man of mixed race whose mother was indigenous and father of Spanish blood. He was the son of Hualca, who helped the famous Inca general Rumiñahui hide the treasures of Quito from the Spanish conquistadors. But most legends seem to agree on the following part of the story.
The Legend of Cantuña. One day, the priest of Quito came to Cantuña to ask if he could build the atrium for the future San Francisco Church. Cantuña proudly claimed, sí, por cierto. Thus, the priest contracted him for this very important job. However, as time passed, Cantuña realized that he had promised too much and that he could not finish the job in the required time. He would need help, so he turned to God on pride. Unfortunately, God did not answer. So he prayed again, still no answer. He prayed yet again, and still God remained silent. So Cantuña thought very hard and decided that if God was not going to answer, that he needed to turn in another direction, so he asked for the devil's help instead.
The devil immediately appeared, and the two began the process of hammering out of contract. Of course, in return for finishing the atrium, the devil wanted Cantuña's soul. It couldn't be otherwise. Therefore, Cantuña agreed, but with one caveat. If the devil and his diablitos, little devils, did not place every piece of brick and mortar by tolling of the first bell at 6 a.m., then the deal would be cancelled. The devil laughed, knowing that his diablitos were the most excellent stone masons and could finish the work in no time at all. And so the contract was sealed and the work began.
Cantuña kept his eye on the progress, and while walking among the diablitos, he managed to remove one stone from the finished wall, where the mortar was not yet dry. He slipped it under his poncho and hid it from view. The diablitos were so busy working that they noticed nothing. Morning arrived, and the devil and Cantuña met at the base of the newly built atrium. The devil asked him if he was ready to part with his soul. At the first sound of the 6 o'clock bell change, Cantunia laughed and asked the devil if he would like to take a closer look at the newly built walls. Lo and behold, there was a single stone missing, and as the bell rang the sixth time, the contract was broken. Cantunia walked away, soul intact and a job well done.
The end.
Thank you for watching.
That it was interesting because we start at 8 p.m. and we finish at 11 p.m. because we try many times.
Without a single penny in his pockets, the room came out of the canteen around midnight. He had lost everything betting on Cuarenta. Luckily, his lifelong friend invited him to a few drinks. Otherwise, he would have to endure to the dry defeat. He went to his home that was near the cemetery. He walked through the streets that were empty and dark. Even while being drunk, he was conscious when he was in front of the holy field. He continued walking and found the place his grandmother warned him to never visit since the devil was around there.
He was not surprised by the bad reputation of that sector, because it was said that there were suicides, bombers, and children who died without forgiveness of original sin were buried. The drunkard suddenly heard the cry of a baby. It was a slight sound that he didn't pay attention to. He took a few steps forward, and the crying was more loud. It was a heartbreaking lament, and the drunk looked everywhere for the baby. It was difficult, but in the end, he found him. The drunkard was moved. He took him in his arms. He thought that his wife could take care of him that night. While they were looking for his mother, it seemed to him that the child could not move. He grabbed him and said, "Why did they abandon you?" He continued and on his way with the baby in his arms. He had not yet finished crossing the left side of the cemetery when he was already tired by the load. He couldn't walk in a straight line, and the baggage was heavier with each step he took.
He lifted the veil that covered the boy, and he looked how the boy's face had changed. His eyes twitched, and he had devilish features and grew large fangs. In less than a minute, the drunk was sober from the shock, when he was paralyzed. When he saw the diabolical baby, the young man ran away when he saw that he was holding the demon himself. The next day, they found the unfortunate young man. He was sprawled very close to the left corner of the pantheon. He had foam residues in his mouth. The neighbors did not doubt that the Wawauka was responsible, since recently a child died without the sacrament of baptism.
We will present you the legend of El Duende or Tintin.
Before we begin, we want to warn you about the images that will be presented on the screen. Discretion is advised. Please don't judge me.
Okay, hello everyone. This is my ugly drawing, and well, I drew it with some characteristics, and it he has a big black hat and a small stature, greenish skin, and he has also a strange coat and pointy shoes. He has a lot of gold and toys because he loves to steal them. And then he hides these objects in trees of the dark woods because the goblin likes to play with these objects, and he has a lot of strange habits that are something scary.
Hi, so my partner Joel explained to you how the goblin looks like, but I'm going to explain one of his likes. Yes, this is my drawing. The goblin falls in love so easily, commonly with long-haired women, because he loves to touch and climb their hair. In fact, he likes this because the goblin has very dirty hair. It is one of his addictions, and people used to tell women to wear their hair up to escape from goblin's love. Yeah, it's so sad and funny. Some people say that if you're one of his loves, um, your face will never be photographed, and no one will be able to see it because you are his property. That is why the women in the towns where people say that there was a goblin used to cover their face and their hair so the goblin never noticed them.
Um, hi, yeah. Hi, I am going to tell about a girl experience with this goblin. In 1996, in a place called La Barraca, a girl called Carmita went out from her home to search her mother in the dark of the night. When she was walking in a very long street, she heard a sound. It was a whistle made by a little man. That little man gave to the girl some candies and a handkerchief, while the man carried the girl to a dark street. Carmita, very scared, started to cry and scream. Fortunately, a man who was vigilant in the surroundings helped the girl. Since that day, the family of the girl never left her alone because the little man followed Carmita every time.
This goblin is also known as Tintin, El Malo Belcebú, Demonio, and Lucifer. It's shaped like a man of a height of 15 centimeters with a creepy appearance. On the Ecuadorian coast, in solitary place, this goblin seems to fall in love with women with their words and promise, sometimes leaving them pregnant and their children were born in a peculiar way. Some born half animal, another half man, and others deformed. This goblin also attracts children to take their toys and hide them.
Thank you for your attention. We hope that you can sleep after this, and we hope you enjoy it.